what I'm going to go through in terms of how to show the options is just something that I've taken from watching trainings. You know what I mean? From like watching a whole bunch of trainings, seeing a bunch of different people do it, and then I just kind of piece it together in a way that works for me, right? And so same thing. If you're crushing it right now, maybe take a couple pieces of this, implement it, make some tiny tweaks. But if you're brand new, then just like pick somebody to just copy, do exactly what they're doing, and then you'll kind of make tweaks and adjustments as you go. So yeah, as we kind of, as you've noticed on these trainings, we've been progressing through the sales process. So where we're going to start today in terms of the sales process is you've done your underwriting, right? You found out which carrier they're most likely to get approved with. You know how much we're gonna on a different day. We kind of did this a few weeks ago, but we went over like how to build the value or how to find like the size of plans to look at. So we're assuming we already have that, right? We assume we already know, hey, this is how much coverage we're going to show the client. So now it's about before I just dive into, okay, here's how much this costs, like actually setting that up a little bit and explaining it in a way that makes it simple for them, makes it easy for them to make a decision, and then kind of like wrapping up, heading into filling out the application. So this is the closing piece right here. So the first thing that you like, if I'm talking to Dom and I go, okay, Dom, so it's just main goal here is we want to make sure you at the very least have enough to make sure your burial's taken care of, so your daughter doesn't have to come out of pocket for that. So we're going to use that as kind of like our baseline amount of coverage to look at, and then we'll look at a couple options on either side of that. To either we'll look at if you want to leave more coverage for her, just has like some extra money to leave behind, and then a little bit less than that just to, in case we need to reduce it for your budget. So we're going to look at a $15,000 plan, a $20,000 plan, and a $25,000 plan. Okay. So, but before I show you numbers on that, Dom, I just need you to know how the plan works. Does that make sense? So that's the key part right there. Like what I used to do is just tell them a number in terms of like, all right, so Garrick, 20,000 is going to be 100 a month. And then there would be no context behind what the heck it is that we're looking at. So what I learned is like, okay, once we get on the same page about how much coverage they need to accomplish their goals, I now have to just kind of set it up so there's some context behind the price per coverage that we're going to look at. Does that make sense? So, all right, Dom, we're going to look at a 15, a 20, a 25,000. Before we look at these numbers, though, I just need you to understand exactly how this plan works. So do me a favor, grab that pen, and I'm going to have you write these three things down. Okay, so here's how your plan is going to work. Your coverage is going to be permanent, which means it's never going to expire on you. It's always going to be in place. It's also going to be level. So level means that your coverage never changes and your price never changes. So you never have to worry about your coverage going down and you never have to worry about your price going up. Those two things are fixed and will always stay the same. Okay. And it's also going to be immediate coverage. So what immediate means is there's no waiting period for the death benefit. So God forbid if something happens to you anytime soon, then the full coverage is going to pay out. So the reason that that's important, Dom, is because like if you were to go straight to the VA for your coverage, or when you see those ads on TV talking about the $9.99 or something like that, any of those, they all have a 2-year waiting period for your coverage to even be in effect. So if you were super banged up in terms of your health, that wouldn't be a terrible thing, but you're definitely healthy enough to qualify for immediate coverage. So that's why we're starting there. Does that make sense? And so just to reiterate, it's permanent, level, and immediate. So I always have them write that down. Okay. And then I just give one quick like reminder that why we're looking at these numbers, and then I show them the options. So, and again, this is just the plan that's coming up as the lowest cost way based on you being a 72-year-old male with diabetes and cancer 10 years ago, right? So just remind them that like, hey, the numbers I'm about to show you, if you're approved, is the lowest cost way for you to get for you to get that coverage. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So now, if we were to start with the $15,000 plan, we'd be at, if it's approved, we'd be at 100 a month. The $20,000 plan, we'd be at 150 a month. And the $25,000 plan, we'd be at 200 a month. So 15,000, 100 a month, 20,000, 150 a month, and then 25,200 a month. And notice how I'm like kind of going slow here. Like I'm doing this on purpose, right? I'm like giving them a chance to like process what I just gave them. And again, I started doing that because I used to be like, okay, which one do you want? And they're like, shit, you just gave me these numbers. Like, give me a sec. And so I kind of slow it down. So, and I say the numbers and I go, now, as you look at those, Dom, just a reminder, my job is just to help you find the size plan that you think no brainer fits your budget, the one that you can easily make work. And then what happens is if it's approved, a policy will get mailed out to you and they give you a month to decide if you want to make any changes to the size of the plan. So what I mean is you don't have to know exactly how much you want today. All we need to do is find the one that you can easily afford, no brainer fits your budget, to see if we could even get it approved. And then we have some time to make some adjustments. So given that, is there one of those that you think makes the most sense to you? Or do you want to make any adjustments to the size of the plan at all? And then that is when you're just quiet. And you just let them, if they're either gonna pick one or they're gonna ask questions, or if that's at that point, they might give you some objection, right? But like the reason I say all of that, and I know we said keep it simple, but at the same time, that like none of that was crazy complicated, but it was thorough. And I put all that together based on all the objections and questions I would get when I didn't explain it that way, right? What I learned is when I didn't remind them that and again, I have access to every company. And the reason we're looking at this one is because based on your age and health, this is the one that's coming up as the lowest cost way if you're approved, right? I would get questions about, will this put me on a 2-year wait period? Will my price change? Will my coverage change? So like everything I just said was insanely intentional based off of previous objections I've got. Does that make sense? So permanent, level, immediate, based on your age and health, lowest cost way for you to do it. 15, 20, 25,000. Now, which one of those makes the most sense to you based on what no-brainer fits your budget, knowing that we have some time to adjust if you want to later? And a lot of times there, like the biggest objection you obviously get is I want to think about it, or price, or something like that. And so what I've learned is the best way to just kind of keep them on track is to kind of circle back on all we need to do today is find the minimum amount that you need to make sure your family's taken care of, that no-brainer fits your budget, and we can adjust later. So, Dom, is that 15,000 for the 100 a month? Is that something that you can easily no-brainer make work, or do we need to look at any different size plans? Right? And at that may be a time where I need to, okay, hey, if 100 a month is like, if that is outside the realm of possibility for you, then what we'll do is we'll look at a 12,000 and make sure that you can no-brainer fit that, right? So it's kind of circling back on hey, all we need to do is just find the amount that you can easily no-brainer make work, knowing that we have time to adjust later. Does that make sense? Like circle back on that, find the no-brainer affordability, adjust later. Like I'll say this multiple times to kind of repeat it in their head. Like, I'm not trying to hard close you. There's nothing to think about. Pick the amount that you could easily afford. So there's at least something to see if we can get it approved, knowing we can add more later. Does that make sense? And then assuming they pick one, how you transition into the application is go, okay, perfect. So we'll see if we can get that approved for you. Dom, what's your middle initial? Right. So the 15,000, I think I can make that one work. Okay, perfect. So we'll see if we can get that approved for you. What's your middle initial? And again, I used to say a lot of stuff like, okay, like, are you sure? Or make it weird. Like if they pick a number, they bought, like go with it, right? Okay, perfect. We'll see if we can get that approved for you. What's your middle initial? And then I start filling out the application, right? And then at that point, as I'm filling it out, I'll explain it to them. Again, I know we did in structure, but I always explain it again to them again how the application works so there's no confusion. All right, Dom, so we're going to submit this application to see if we can get it approved. Very simple and straightforward, everything you would expect on a life insurance application. Full name, driver's license, date of birth, social security number. They're going to do a medical authorization check like halfway through the application. And assuming that comes back with the green light, we will designate your beneficiary. And then the last section will set up the payment information for it. All right. What's your height? You know what I mean? I just keep on filling it out. So yeah, that's how to go from, finding the size plan that you need to look at through taking it into the application. That's the 3-option close. The other like type of close is like a 1-option close, right? So let's say we don't necessarily, I don't know, Dom, do you have like a scenario where you may go 3-option versus 1-option? Because I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, it's so like a feel thing and a case by case. So I don't know if you have something more specific when you may or may not do that.
Well, I think this is kind of two-piece to that. Okay, so let me write this down. 1-option versus 3. Okay, and the let me start there. All right, let me start there. 1-option versus 3. I give 1-option, you guys, and you'll get there. Okay, and I promise you, it's not like get there. It's a bit the more questions you ask.
Yeah.
Okay. The more you ask, the more specific you will be able to give them the solution to their problem.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't ask a lot of questions, you're most likely going to end up in the 3-option phase. Okay. Because you didn't ask enough to go, hey, based on your scenario, I recommend this. Makes sense? And that's based on their budget. Makes it based on the insurance they already have. Based on who's going to be left and what they got taken care of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a doctor doesn't really say, hey, do you want to take, lisinopril, atenolol, or this? He says, take this. And you want to be more on the doctor side of this. Because when you give recommendations, people follow you. When you bring them back into the fold of asking, you know what I mean? Like, and it gets tricky. Okay. And that's why Bryce says it's more of a feel thing. Now, what I would do is I write myself 3 options down. Okay. So before I speak options, I got 3 of them written down. And then I'm going to give the recommendation that I see. Then I'm going to read their body language, what they say and things like that, and quickly pivot up or down. You can read, you can know when somebody, if they sitting over there, Bryce said no brainer. How many times did Bryce say no brainer?
An annoying amount of times.
Exactly. You need to put statements like that into your script like all day long. This needs to be a no-brainer amount. And sometimes I've even heard him explain what no-brainer means to people. He goes, no-brainer meaning you can take your brain out of your head and it still makes sense. I heard that from him. You with me? So I think when now if you see people, now you read it. All right, 20,000 is what I recommend. All right, but man, 15, dude, that's definitely still going to take care of your burial. Now, if you live until you're 95 years old, you may be talking to me again. But for now, dude, I know that's going to work if it fits your budget. And if you do live to 90, wouldn't it be better if they have to come out of pocket $5,000 versus 20? Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. All right, cool. We're going to start at 15. Versus allowing him to ask me, well, how much is 15? By the time the client got there, they've already decided that they may not do it. Make sense? And they don't get there fast. Sometimes they do ask you fast. They ask you fast, cool. But they taking time to think about it. They've already kind of, I need to take them there. I need to let them know that this happens a lot of times. Most people do this. Okay? Most people do this. So so that's 1 versus 3. Now, here's another way to kind of go into showing options. Okay. A lot of the times our clients aren't the healthiest, nor I don't give a damn, 14 years in or 3 days in, underwriting in this thing isn't the easiest. Okay? It just isn't. What we have available to us now is the ability to find out if people qualify. Okay? We have that ability. So I think sometimes folks think the quote is their, like they quote, they say yes, that means I start the app. No. Start the app, right? Based on we're going to see what you can get. Gain trust from them from, hey, you know what I mean? Because you're going to get their social and all that type of stuff, right? You've already told them this. We're going to need your social. We're going to need all this, right? Start inputting that information before cost comes out. Make sense? Like if you can get there, if you can get to value and getting personal information from them for them to buy in to see if they can even get the insurance, dude, I can pull so much value out by the time we get to the actual quote. Now the quote's going to be real too. It's not going to be what I hope it is. A lot of times you give quotes based on what you hope it is. It'd be this, then it comes back at something different. You know what I mean? It's select, you quote them select one with Americo, comes back select two.
Yeah.
Still a good policy, but you sold them on 20 grand is $114 and it comes out at $190. But you were so over the top with 20,000 is 114 and you quoted, does that make sense? Like you can't sell that way. You can't sell our insurance. Now in person, I kind of had to because shit, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't instant approval. I had to wait a while. Makes sense. But now we can be so sure that don't put yourself in a spot to where if you feel the quote is what sold it before you know if they qualified, we're doing it wrong. Okay. Now that doesn't mean 100% of the time you're not going to quote before you get there. But if people are pulling I don't know, dude. I found it, and this is as of lately for me, Bryce. This isn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't for my whole career. This is probably the last, I'd say, half a year last year. I started realizing that, like, wow, let me get people on board with shooting me their ID to see if they qualify. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Get their information, build rapport during this time, right? We're going to find out if they need burial, cremation, all that, right? But get to the money when, okay, you get that green check back from Americo. Now it's like, all right, Kelly. All right, so we got word back from the carrier. All right, that you just got you got the green light. All right. So now we know that you want to be buried, right? Let's replay that. Let's get back to that. You've already asked them about how much burial is. Now we're going to bring that back up again. Does that make sense? Now we're going to bring that up again. So about, how much that is? Yeah, about 15 grand. Okay, cool. So I'm going to look at some options here for you based on your qualification, and they're not going to go up or down. They've already said yes. Okay, so this is the price. Okay, it's going to always stay there, Kelly. It doesn't change. It stays there forever. You're on a fixed income. I recommend you get the most your budget allows because things ain't changing for you in the future. Is that fair to say? All right, now if you win the lotto or hit it, you know who to call, right? But other than that, your income ain't going to change. Are we on the same page? So let's get the most that you can afford that fits in there. Okay? But it has to be something that the only good insurance is the one that's there when you pass away. So if the number only makes sense today and you think that, hey, in August when the AC goes out, it won't make sense, we probably need to look at something else. Okay? So 20,000 is what I recommend for somebody in your scenario. You're only 71 years old. Prices of funerals right now are 10 to 12, maybe 15,000. All right. If you're healthy enough to get this product, odds are you ain't going to die no time soon, just so you know. Okay. So by the time you're 80, 85 years old, that's probably where this is going to fall. All right. 20,000 is only $167 a month. Now you let me know up or down. Where do you want to go, Kelly? Or does that fit into your budget? This is after they gave me social, after they just known that they got a green check. Do you see how much freaking value this has behind it now? versus here's the quote, and now let me try to pull personal information from you. I just think that you can solidify yourself as more the doctor and let me do an intake, and then I'm going to prescribe you based on what comes in. All right, and now this is all new to me. I'm just being real with you. Like I said, over the last probably 6 months of last year, and now seeing it more and more and more. I was talking to a new agent, Trevor. Trevor, you guys will see he'd be killing it. Trevor Mike, Sean's son, is like ripping this thing to shreds right now. Okay, and he called me up and he goes, "Hey man, I'm getting like caught up a lot with like different apps and things like that. I'm not finishing the app." He goes, and it comes out on like banking and things like that, right? And I go, "Well, when are you showing prices?" He goes, "Man, they're at the very beginning. Like, that's how we get into the app and stuff." I was like, "Well, do you even know if they qualify?" He goes, "Yeah, sometimes I got to pivot and then it changes." And I was like, "Yeah, you lose it, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah, lose it." And I was like, "Yeah, I was losing it too." The reason why these changes are made, you guys, because we all lost, we lost a lot. Like we lost it. We were like, dude, why are we losing? So you have to figure out when's the right time to do this stuff. So now he hit me up and was like, "Hey, dude, showing people the value before and then showing them the price after we know what they qualify for I haven't had any of the issues that I had before. Nobody's telling me that they can't get their banking. Nobody's telling me that nobody's telling me any of that stuff." I was like, yeah, I'm not saying I know, but dude, there's some piece of we're gaining people's trust throughout this process. So it's how you present. Now, the way Bryce presented it, nothing wrong with that. Okay. Like that is the way you're going to have a 3 option, a person sometimes. Okay. But do your best to be the doctor. Do your best to know, like, who were we with? Gunner's not on. Well, he's on here. Dude, we had this guy, we're still, I don't know, Gunner, let me know what American Amicable said or what the deal is. Not here, but we'll talk. But with him, I didn't know what this guy could get at all. I didn't sell him on anything. Gunner, are you in a good place? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk.
Okay. Did I sell him on any of on anything other than that we were going to see if he qualified?
No, not really. It was all real open-ended in terms of what we were going to look for.
Right? And like it was not like I think sometimes we think that we're selling the product so much or the price is what sells it, but it's really the process and how well we are at moving people through the process that sells. That's what sells. Remember at the beginning of this, I said, "Hey, we're going to show you guys how to simplify this. Simplify and make it easy for them to understand." And easy to understand means I'm easy to follow. If you're not easy to follow, you're going to get things like, I don't know where my banking is, that you're going to get these things and they're going to be like, "Dude, why are they saying this to me?" I'm like, "Dude, you're not leading them." And it's okay, but let's figure out where we are with that. Because you think that they're buying because of cost. I know they're buying because the relationship that we're building, the value that we're pulling from the client. All right, the why, reiterate that. Explain that the insurance stays the same, that it's not going to change the premium. All right, that there's other stuff out there that's different, like talking about the VA, the 2-year waiting periods, all that type of stuff. I don't sell the 2-year wait until I know if they qualify for immediate. Some of y'all say that we sell immediate death benefits, and then you got to write them Corebridge. That's why you can't close them, because you already shitted on the 2-year period. Makes sense? It's like, we can't do that because you oversold it. Yeah, these ones here, they're immediate. I'm like, oh God, slow down, Tonto. You don't even know if no. The best insurance is the one that they can get, and the only stuff that they know is what we tell them. That's another thing that I learned too in this business was like, dude, they only know that because I told them. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, this one's cheaper." I'm like, "How did they know that?" "Oh, yeah, you did that. And you also got paid 15 points less." "Oh shit, I didn't know that." "Well, hey, sorry, you're trying to save them $2.70 a month." You know what I mean? It's like just be vigilant with it. All right. So any questions about those recommendations and getting into the cost, or not the cost, but quote based on what the face amount is going to do for them, not how much it costs.
Well, what would be the benefit of showing the quote before running the application anyway?
Dude, Dom, I think that what I've learned, and again, this is going to come with experience. You got to get a feel for who you're speaking with. Like, you're going to be speaking with some people that are like, this guy's been a little bit, he's not rocking with me all the way, where I feel like I need to give him a number before we get into me asking for a social. You know what I mean? And if somebody is like, doesn't seem numbers based, that's much more like a situation where I'm gonna get it, get a pre-qualification with Americo before I get into numbers, assuming that they got some stuff going on in their health that I'm not really sure if we can get approved with America. I want to at least try first. Does that make sense? And so, like, I think you just gotta get a feel for who you're speaking with. Again, the example that I just gave was more of like a template, like an example of hey, very healthy. I would be shocked if they didn't get approved. You know what I mean? Of how to proceed through showing numbers through getting to the application. But there are going to be situations where it's like, you got some stuff going on, I'm not sure whether or not we can get approved with Americo, so I gotta see if we can get a pre-approval, so I'm not showing numbers on something that is gonna get kicked back anyways.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And it's totally cool to tell them that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to be specific with what we're doing. I don't want to just be throwing things at you. But Devin, like, that was, to be honest, I don't know if there's there's not a benefit in it. I think there's just more structure that needs to be had. I think a lot of the time I did it. The reason I did it was because I thought that I believed that was my ticket to do business with them. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I thought I was supposed to give them a quote, and then the quote was my permission to do the application, if they were okay with the quote. But then what I found in telesales is that them being okay with the quote didn't mean that was the actual thing that they were going to get approved for. And I kept shooting myself in the foot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Because like when I'm done, I'm just kind of expecting that my clients are trying to get a quote as soon as possible. So I'm kind of doing everything I can to make that the last resort. So when I open up with a carrier, I just immediately go to start the application.
Devin, how many policies you written?
I haven't wrote any.
Okay, so what are you referring to? Excuse me?
Presentations I have had.
You saying what you would do?
That's what I did in the 2 presentations that I had.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Hey, yo, Dominique.
Yep.
I kind of like on what Bryce was saying. The dude that I was talking to today with America, once we got to the 10th medication he was taking, I said, hey, Timothy, what we're going to do real quick is we're going to go ahead and see if we can get you pre-approved. That way I don't give you a rate that you can't qualify for. And then from there, we'll see what best fits your needs in your budget. And then he was like, okay. So I think that goes along with kind of like what Bryce was saying. Just like, yo, hey, I got tired of writing all the medication down, to be honest with you. Like, he was spelling all, it was like the 12th one. And some of them were, just all over the place, but nothing major for his heart and his liver. So I was just like, you know what? This is what we're going to do, Timothy. I said, we're going to make sure we can get you pre-approved with our best A-rated carrier. And then from there, we'll see what fits your need in your budget. If we can, figure out the right amount of coverage for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why, like, I hope we're not confusing you too much. Brand new, you got to pick a way and just do it. Like, what we're kind of getting into some like deeper levels of closing here. You know what I mean? That's why I just ran through like a way to close. Use that as a template. When you start to get people declined, or when you start to have to pivot, you then kind of go into these other levels of like, all right, how can I get in front of this type of thing? Does that make sense? And so, like, the way I look at it is like, when I get somebody's health, I'm sure they're going to get approved for this. Or I'm kind of sure, and then I'm like, dude, I have no idea. You know what I mean? And so if I'm sure, like, the guy is 63, he only takes 1 high blood pressure med, it would be outrageous if he didn't get there would be some crazy going on if he didn't get approved for Americo Eagle One. So I'm just going to show Eagle One numbers. Does that make sense? I don't need to think about much. If like in Zach's case, he's got some stuff going on. I'm like, I don't want to dig myself a hole I can't get out of. Let me see if I can get him pre-approved with something first before I show numbers. Does that make sense? So like that's kind of the buckets there. And then the other thing that I started doing recently is there's that middle tier, right? That I just said, I'm sure, I'm kind of sure, and then I'm like really not sure. And so in my like, it kind of could go either way bucket, I show a range. Does that make sense? So I go, all right, Dom, so if we do a 10,000, best case scenario, that's going to be 100, but just to set expectation, it could be 130 and somewhere in between. So like, let's pick the plan based off the higher end number. And if it comes back lower, we'll just be pleasantly surprised. So again, 15,000 is between 1 to 130. 20,000 is 130 to 150. 25,000 is this. Of the top end numbers, which one of those makes the most sense? And then, or sometimes I'll just give them the top, like if I have Americo and then I have insurance toolkits and I see like the next 3 best, I'll give them like that third one down as like the price they pick, but I'll still start with Americo. And if it comes back and I'm like, shit, I know I said it was going to be 160, but good news, it was actually only going to be 120. You got approved at a better rate than I thought. So those are some things you can do to kind of like hedge yourself or get out in front of not having to pivot, is either give a range or give them a more expensive number, like, but still start with like the first carrier.
Okay.
That it kind of speaks to that you're the Expedia of insurance. Like, give them a structure of what you're going to be doing. Like, this is, and you want the cheapest, right? That's what the consumer would say. I would never say cheap. I don't sell cheap shit. Our consumer, they're looking for cheap. Okay. So this is how you get the cheapest. If you just act like this is the way you get it, right? I got to get information from you to get you the lowest cost. Dude, now you're their guy, because everybody else they've been talking to just been spitting off quotes to them, you guys, just so you know. You guys are calling age leads. I want to help you. I want to help you close more business. I want to help you do things different than the previous mother effer who called that lead. Because you don't got a different carrier than the last person who called the lead has, by the way. You got the same carriers. How many of you guys have sold somebody who sat with somebody who quoted them the same thing that you got, but they bought it from you and not them? Why? You quoted, you're like, you know what I mean? Like, you presented it differently. There was something different about you that presented the same damn numbers from the same insurance company. You know what I mean? So I think continuing to be different and knowing that, hey, the people before you, they're probably just spitting out numbers. All right. You got to put more value behind the numbers, more direction behind the numbers, so that they go, that 114, you notice that every time, we'll end with this. Every time you say a premium, you guys, please say this. It is only $32 a month. It is only $660 a month. It is only $934 a month. That is the only way you should ever say a number. Ever. Okay? That was hard for me at the beginning, because it was hard for me to say only $332 when I had $332. It was difficult for me to say that. But I had to learn to step out of my own situation and be the salesperson that they deserve, be the person that they deserve. Makes sense? So it's only $618. All right. You start putting that into how you present, they're gonna go more your way, more than they are now, than not doing it. I'll tell you that. All right. But you're always gonna lose more in this business than you win, but it's cool, because winning 30% of the time in this business, you're rich. All right. I mean, 70% I lost. Who cares, dude? We ain't talking about the 70%. 30 was like baseball. Makes sense? I get a hit 2 out of, you know what I mean? It's like, it's all good. I just have to be able to deal with failure. But I want to make sure, and you guys need to make sure, that you're closing that 30-40% of the people you're presenting to. All right. And this is going to take you, Kelly, I know you sit down with 10, you're going to close 1 or 2, but can we get you closing 3 or 4 or 5? Does that make sense? Because 1 or 2 keep you in business. 3, 4, or 5, that takes you to that next level.